everybody, it's Dr. Ray Heinisch, natural pharmacist with illnessisoptional.com. In today's video, we're going to tackle one of the most common causes of suffering in our society today, and that is osteoarthritis. Now, what you see here is a knee joint, and here in pink is what we call the cartilage. It's a smooth layer that helps the joint to move freely with very little friction. Now, over time, what ends up happening is we get a lot of wear buildup along this cartilage that ultimately results in friction and irritation and inflammation that ultimately culminates in arthritic pain and stiffness. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a blueprint for treating this condition naturally. A lot of people, when they go about dealing with this situation, have a tendency to put the cart before the horse. Now, how do they do that? Well, they start by trying to give the building blocks that the body needs in order to repair the cartilage. But that's not where we should start. The first place we want to start is we want to decrease the wear. You've heard that old saying that when you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you've got to do is stop digging. Well, that's what we have to tackle first. We have to stop digging the hole. So how do we do that? Well, that brings us to step number one, and that is to control inflammation. Inflammation acts like a wrecking ball against the cartilage. We think of inflammation as causing swelling and pain, right? Well, unfortunately, it goes well beyond that. Inflammation actually promotes further damage to the cartilage. In fact, it's probably one of the most common causes of cartilage damage. We oftentimes think of arthritis as a wear and tear phenomenon, meaning that it's just age. It just happens as we age because the joint or the cartilage actually gets worn away just from everyday activity. And there's some truth to that. You see, within this cartilage, there are cells called chondrocytes that are responsible for repairing any damage that occurs. Now, if the damage happens faster than those chondrocytes can repair, then it begins to accumulate and ultimately results in the development of arthritis. Okay? But if we can control the inflammation, if we can prevent the inflammation from running wild, then we can actually slow down the process of which damage occurs in the cartilage. That allows the chondrocytes to be able to repair at a rate that's fast enough to prevent that wearing away or that erosion of this very important layer called cartilage. So how do we do that? Well, if you're watching this video, the likelihood is you already take omega-3 fatty acids, because omega-3 fatty acids are probably the most important nutrient for preventing and decreasing inflammation in the body. But there's one other formula that I like to use, and it's called Zyflamend. Zyflamend is made by a company called New Chapter, and it is a very well researched and put together formula for controlling inflammation. And it does it in such a way that doesn't cause the same kinds of side effects that we see with things like Advil and ibuprofen. It's primarily made up of a lot of spices. We've got rosemary in here, turmeric, ginger, skullcap. It's got green tea, oregano, and those are all herbs that attack inflammation from many different pathways. So the recommended dose in somebody who is suffering with arthritis is 2 capsules twice a day. Next, we're going to lubricate the joint. Again, this comes back to preventing the erosion, preventing the damage. Now, there's a compound that's called hyaluronic acid. I know that's a long word. We just say HA for short, okay? So HA makes up the joint space fluid, the lubricating fluid that builds up here in this joint space and allows the cartilage to kind of slide freely like oil allows in an engine. So you can actually take HA in a supplement form, and when you do that, we find that it certainly does help with the joint problems. It helps to decrease the inflammation, it helps to decrease the pain sensation, and I've had people just use that formula alone and see pretty significant changes in their symptoms. So we want to keep those joints moving by giving it the WD-40 of arthritis, and that is the HA. Standard dose on that is usually in the beginning we want to dose up high. We want to get 100 milligrams of HA twice a day for the first 1 to 2 months, and then we can back down to 100 milligrams once a day, and that usually keeps things kind of moving smoothly. That brings us to step number 3, and this is where we want to add the building blocks that those chondrocytes, those cells that are responsible for repair and regeneration, begin to use to repair and keep that cartilage as healthy as possible. Now, what building blocks are they? There are basically three main building blocks that we use when we're talking about arthritis, and that is glucosamine sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, and MSM. And you can get all of them together in one formula. Now, glucosamine and chondroitin alone can be an effective tool in helping to deal with the symptoms of arthritis. The problem is, if you don't deal with these two first, then this doesn't work as well. So we really want to hit the inflammation, we want to hit the lubrication, and then we want to flood the body with the building blocks that it needs in order to repair and regenerate that joint. Now, there are a lot of glucosamine formulas on the market. I want to make sure that you use the one that's most effective, and that is glucosamine sulfate. Now, there is another form of glucosamine called glucosamine HCl, or glucosamine hydrochloride. I have found that that one isn't as effective for people who suffer with arthritis. That being said, it's also not the one that's been put through the majority of the research. The one that's been researched is glucosamine sulfate. Okay, so we've got inflammation, we've lubricated the joint, we've given the building blocks. There's one final step. And a lot of times people forget this one. And in fact, some know of it, but they ignore it. That is, we've got to exercise to stimulate new cartilage development. People don't realize, but exercise helps to stimulate the cells within this cartilage to begin to repair and regenerate. That is the way nature works. You use it or you lose it. And in this case, it couldn't be more true. We found that both aerobic exercise as well as resistance or weight training helps to stimulate the chondrocytes to utilize these building blocks more. It also draws in more fluid to lubricate the joint. And when you exercise, you control inflammation. So you've got to add this step to see significant changes. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of people who suffer with arthritis, because the joints are hurting, they try not to exercise because they think the exercise is going to make it worse, or going to damage the cartilage more. That is just not true. The research has proven that exercise helps to protect the cartilage, not to cause more damage. So there you have the 4-step blueprint for dealing with osteoarthritis. Control the inflammation, omega-3 fatty acids, a formula like eZeLiving, which is made by New Chapter. Lubricate the joint with HA. The one I recommend is Doctor's Best. 2 capsules twice a day for 1 to 2 months, and then 2 capsules once a day as a maintenance. And then give it the building blocks, glucosamine and chondroitin. And then exercise. Stimulate the body to want to keep that cartilage healthy through regular aerobic and resistance training. There's the 4-point blueprint for dealing with your arthritis. Get out there, make it happen, and we'll see you at the next video.